Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast. I'm Janey Lee Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi, I'm Janey Lee Grace. Welcome to the podcast. Hope you enjoyed the bonus episode earlier in the week with Neil from Morning Gloryville. And as promised, another podcast on time. And it's been a really interesting week, actually. There's been lots in the press. Again, there's so much stuff, unless it's just that I see it now. You know, there's this thing about when something is on your radar, obviously you see it more than you used to. It's called your reticular activator, as long as there's no follow-through questions. Apparently that, you know, once you're aware of something, you will of course notice that said thing everywhere. Anyway, I keep finding bits in the press all the time. There was the documentary, the drinking documentary. I've forgotten the title of it. It was a follow-up from the documentary that Adrian Chiles did called Drinkers Like Me, and this one was about the alcohol, the situation of the harm that alcohol does in the UK. That was, I think it was a Panorama documentary in the UK on Monday. It was really well done. Adrian Chiles is doing a lot of great work in this arena, because he fessed up and recognised that he was just drinking way too much. He added it up to about 100 units a week. And I don't think he's given up, but he is definitely drinking mindfully. And I think he's doing a lot, really, to raise awareness in this arena. And it was really quite a hard-hitting documentary, actually. It showed alcohol for what it is, that, the problems associated with alcohol. I think, just off the top of my head, some of the stats were that, alcohol... due to alcohol, extra costs to the NHS are around 3.5 billion quid every year, which is just staggering. Something like 28,000 people, I think they said, have liver disease, and they were showing various liver disease units in hospitals. It was really sad. And they were saying it. I think there was a really scary statistic as well that said that the average age of death for people due to alcohol, misuse of alcohol, is between 45 and 55. And of course, you tend to think, oh, but that's other people. That's not me. I'm not in that bracket. I'm not. I've got liver disease. I'm not that bad, in inverted commas. But then other statistics, pop up, like 24 million people in the UK use alcohol and drugs to self-medicate, to ease their anxiety. So, that's when you can see that it might be the start of a slippery slope. They did also, say on the programme that, having said that, there is also a little bit of tide turning and alcohol-free drinks coming onto the market, and a little bit more interest in not drinking. But nevertheless, it looks like there's some way to go. It was interesting as well, the different laws in Scotland that have come into place. I don't know if any podcast listeners are in Scotland, but be good to hear from you guys, because they did a piece at Glasgow Hospital, and there, in their kind of liver ward, things are looking a little bit better due to the restrictions that have been placed on the sale of alcohol in Scotland. There's a few different laws. I think one was that you can't buy alcohol after 10 p.m, something like that. The other issue on the programme that was really fascinating was just about the pricing around alcohol. Oh yeah, that was the other thing in Scotland. They've changed the minimum unit pricing. They've raised it, because on the Panorama show, I don't want to spoil it all for you, but Adrian Chiles holds up this bottle of cider that has got a staggering amount of alcoholic units in it. I forget how many, but a ridiculous amount of units, something like 12 or 13 units. So that would be equivalent to the amount that the government say you can drink in a week, the government guidelines, and it costs something like £2.80 or something ridiculous. So all of this pricing structures, all of this needs to be looked at, really, doesn't it? But it was very interesting. And then there was another piece in the press about, should we the debate over whether children should be given alcohol, whether we should allow children to have a little bit of alcohol with a meal with the family, or a little taste of alcohol. And well, I'm sure you've heard me say this before on the podcast. I am dead against that. I mean, I always have been. Even when I was drinking, I've always been against that idea, because, you know, for grown-ups who've fallen into that trap, it's one thing, but to actually introduce children to a toxin is utterly ridiculous. And I'm sure people have heard me say before, I was at a school thing where they were discussing this, and so many parents have this view, well, you know, we need to give them a little bit just to get them used to it. Well, you know, you would not be doing that if it was heroin, would you? You wouldn't be giving them just a little bit of heroin, or, you know, whatever to get them used to it. So I'm dead against that one. And anyways, that led me on to doing some prep for my TED Talk. Some of you may know I'm doing a TED Talk called Sobriety Rocks, Who Knew? In July in Norwich. It's a TEDxEd Norwich talk. And so I've been doing a little bit of prep. I've been thinking about what I should include. As everybody knows, TED Talks are really short. So it's more about what you leave out in a way. It's and it's quite difficult. How do you decide what are the really important messages that you want to get across? And obviously, as the title would suggest, the main thing that I want to get across in this talk is the positive benefits, the unexpected joy of being sober, to quote Catherine Gray's amazing Perfect book title. That's obviously what I want to focus on. But of course, I've got to prefix that, sharing some of my own story and some of the reasons that, you know, brought me to this point. And it made me realize, I was thinking back to when I was first making the decision to give up drinking, when I knew something had to change, but I felt totally clueless as to how I would do that. It felt totally impossible. I knew that I didn't identify at all with, as I've just been talking about, the kind of people that have liver disease. You know, that wasn't me in any way. To quote that spectrum of drinking again, you know, I was high bottomed, how we wish, but, you know, I was perfectly functioning. So I didn't in any way relate to the idea of being an alcoholic. That didn't resonate with me at all. I couldn't see a way out. I didn't know that this whole world exists. I didn't know there were online forums and groups and sober meetups and podcasts. And I really didn't know anything about it. And also it felt too much at the time to think about giving up forever, which is why I think the challenges that several people run are just brilliant. You know, Annie Grace has a challenge. One year, Beer do a challenge. There's a whole bunch of them. Club Soda, of course, have their kind of their kickstart challenge, and I think doing some kind of challenge is really useful, because at the beginning you really only can think for the next day, really, and I think to try and think right at the beginning, okay, I'm definitely giving up forever. It's quite hard to get your head around that. I was also remembering that at that time I found the word alcoholic really difficult. That still doesn't resonate with me personally, but I also even found words like sobriety difficult and sober. The connotations around those words, I just found didn't feel right. You know, as time has gone on, I don't have any problem with any of those phrases, because I see it in a wider context. But it just got me thinking, really, the things that we focus on at the beginning, and then of course it changes over time. I mean, one thing that I definitely used to focus on before I stopped was I was constantly thinking, you know, am I drinking too much? How much am I drinking? And is it too much? That was always the question. I'm sure you've been there. I'm sure you've Googled, am I an alcoholic? Everyone does, don't they? And of course, there's no definitive answer to that, certainly not on an online quiz. But I've come to realize, you know, over time, that actually the question isn't am I drinking too much? The question isn't how much am I drinking? The question is, how do I feel about the amount I am drinking? So, for that, that might be a couple of bottles a night for one person. It might be 3 drinks on a Friday for somebody else. But if the feelings and the thoughts associated with that are making you feel bad, are causing any kind of anxiety, are just not helping your life, then they're the real questions, that we should be asking. Not, am I drinking too much? Because there'll always be someone who's drinking more than you, right? And no one can answer that question for you, but it's more a case of, how do I feel about the toxins that I'm putting in my body? So anyway, I have no idea where I'm going with all of that. I just thought I'd share with you some of my thoughts as I prepare towards my TED Talk. I'd be really interested, actually, to know how you feel about it, because as I'm putting this stuff together, I don't know if it's just me. I'd love to know what stage you're at, and whether you are happy to be identified as sober. Is the word sober okay for you? Is the word sobriety okay for you? Or does that put you off if you really are still thinking that, you don't know whether you're going to give up or not? Or maybe you definitely want to become a mindful drinker. If you're a mindful drinker, does the word sobriety put you off? I guess that's the question. Answers on a postcard. No, you can message me. I'd be really interested to know how other people feel about that one. Now, of course, there's masses of stuff out there with the word sober. And of course, if you add a word on, such as curious, you become sober curious, that softens it all. It's just interesting, isn't it, to know how we identify with where we are at. Anyways, talking messaging and words and the impact of words, it's actually quite a nice lead-in to my guest this week, who is the lovely Dawn from Soberfish. Some of you will have seen Dawn's posts online. She's quite active on social media. She often does these hilarious posts of what she looked like before and after. She's very honest, bless her. And she has just a fabulous range of greeting cards, as we'll talk about in the interview. Once you actually stop drinking, you become I became incensed with the messaging that every card shop I went in, if I tried to buy someone a card, you've got to fight your way through the flipping alcohol messages. And we need to change that around, really. There needs to be much more available. And also, we need to encourage other people. So I think, what the work that Dawn is doing is brilliant, because we can now go to a site like hers, go to her Etsy shop or whatever, and we can order a card and give that to somebody else. In AA, they have their tokens, and actually marking these little milestones, I think is really, really important. I had to order one for myself last year because nobody was going to order it for me, probably because I hadn't really told anybody. But now that we know about this, if we've got friends or family members who've done these amazing thing, then we should celebrate that. And a little greetings card is a cool thing to give someone. So here you go. Enjoy the interview.
Hi and welcome to the podcast. And I'm really pleased that my guest is Dawn from Soberfish. Lots of people know you, Dawn, just as Soberfish. So welcome. Yes. It's lovely to have you on the podcast. You're so what's the word? Prolific. That's what you are. Nice. Lots of content, and we always see lovely things from you on Instagram and Facebook. And you're very kind of happy face in the sober world. It's really good, really good to connect with you. And obviously we're going to talk about your fantastic range of cards, greetings cards, and various little bits and bobs, which all support the kind of sober message, which I just loved when I first gave up drinking. I just thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to celebrate? And your cards were just the perfect thing to market for yourself.
Oh, thank you very much.
We'll talk about all of that, but let's just find out a bit more about you. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay, so I became sober on the 27th of November 2016, a little earlier than planned. My sobriety was very planned because I decided that I was going to take a year off of drinking. And that was supposed to start on New Year's Eve, 16 into 17. But my body had other ideas. So my plan, it was always planned that I was going to write a blog. I was going to take photos of myself before I started. There was going to be an end photo, which was going to be the following New Year's Eve with a glass of Prosecco, and I was going to get hammered. And that was the aim, but it didn't actually turn out like that. So in November, I got very ill. I was struck down with flu. And that was just before, it was around, obviously, the 27th of November, but then I was still ill up until mid-December. And the choice was, did I start drinking again for Christmas and finish on New Year's Eve, or did I just carry on? And I was so ill that I thought, I'll just carry on. So, yeah, my sobriety date became November rather than the 1st of January.
But what was it led you to that point then? You say you decided to give up drinking, so it was all really planned. It wasn't.
It was really planned.
Oh, I've got to. What brought you to that point then of planning to give up for a year?
So when I drank, I drink to excess, proper binging. So it would be a Friday night binge. I'd go out for a drink after work or with a friend, and then before you knew it, it was Saturday morning. And then I'd be sick all day Saturday. So I was starting to make, when people said, what are you doing Saturday? I was like, oh, I'm busy, because I knew I'd be ill. And so I was just wasting weekends because I was just constantly sick. And then the rest of the week would, oh, I'm not going to drink this weekend. I'm not going to drink this weekend. Classic story. And then sure enough, do the whole thing all over again. And what basically happened was I hadn't Googled anything to do with being sober, but an article popped into my news feed from Bored Panda, which is before and after photos. And these people just looked amazing. I have posted it several times. It's a really popular post. And they just looked amazing. And I just thought, I want a bit of this. I wanted to give up smoking. I smoked heavily as well. And the drinking and the smoking went hand in hand. And I've lost 4.5 stone. Wow. So I was heavily overweight. And just the giving up drinking part of it seemed to be the catalyst of everything else, really. And I thought, what's a year in the grand scheme of things? Although after a month, I was like, oh, God, a year is a very long time. Yeah. But yeah, it was very planned. And
did you plan how you would do that then? What was the route you took? Were you just going to stop and that's it? Did you put any tools in place, any support in place for yourself? Nothing. Was it ever an option for you to go to AA or to go to any kind of meetings or connect with other people, or literally?
No, I just didn't. No, I'd done dry January before, so I knew I could do dry January. And when I did dry January, I always got to the 30, as most people, couldn't wait till the 1st of February to get back on. But so I knew that I could do a month, and I knew how great I felt after a month. So I just basically thought, yeah, this will be fine. And I don't remember how I found Club Soda. Obviously, I did a Google search, but what I was searching for, I just don't remember. But I did find them fairly early on. I think I found them in January, so I was about 6 weeks sober. And then the support kind of came in from there. And there was various other groups that I belonged as well, because by then I'd started writing. So I was asking to share my blog with I guess if I'm totally honest, I wasn't there for the support. I didn't realise how much support it was going to give. It was more about the blog. And then I ended up getting the support that I needed from them.
Yeah. We should just say for anybody who's new to the podcast, Club Soda is an amazing online community, Facebook bunch of groups, and offers great support for people who are giving up drinking or quitting or reducing their drinking. There's a group for people who've given up, and there's another one for people who practice mindful drinking, shall we say. So how did the idea for the cards come about then? Because I think one of the things that you notice when you're choosing to not drink is just the amount of messages that are hitting you from the media. I remember going out shopping just after a couple of weeks after I'd given up, three weeks after I'd given up, and I'd forgotten to take a shopping bag, and literally every single bag in the shop I happened to be in with the kids said, oh, Prosecco or gin, or I was absolutely outraged. I went up to the counter and I said, can I buy a shopping bag from you that doesn't promote drinking? And they just looked at me as if I was mad. But, these messages from the media, it's exhausting. And you go in a card shop and every goddamn card is promoting drinking. So, I mean, is that what you just thought, I've got to change this?
The idea came to me after my first Soberversary. So it was a bit slow, it took a year. But when I got to my first Soberversary, I had a bit of a celebration with my friends. And I just happened to notice that whilst they all made massive effort, it was lovely. I got cards, I got presents, I got all sorts. That all the cards were either, no offence to anybody that's listening that bought me one, but was like a normal congratulations card or a card that had been amended by people to... Yeah. For example, my mum got me a congratulations card that had a big bottle of champagne on it. Not for this, but for when I bought my flat. And she, bless her, amended it and put on there AF. And she said it's really hard. This was after I'd launched my cards, but she can't really buy one of my cards for me. But she said it's really hard to buy those kind of cards. So that gave me the idea. I worked with somebody who has got her own website doing gifts. And I just sent her a message and just said, I've got this crazy idea. What do you think? And she went, yeah. So she then came up with some designs, and we do laugh because her favourite colours are pastels, and I absolutely hate pastels. So the first round were like these very staid, and you know that I like using swear words on them as well. So she doesn't swear. So they were like these very demure pastel cards with really nice things written on. And I'm like, no, you have to be in your face.
Bold.
Because what I want to promote is that sobriety is not grey.
It's fun.
It's not dull. It's not pastel. And, we all laugh about AF, alcohol free. It has another meaning to it if you want it to be. So I kind of use that as a bit of a play on words.
So just give us a couple of, for anyone who hasn't seen them then. Well, for starters, hold them up for anyone's watching. Hold up one or two in case anyone is looking at this on YouTube. And then just tell us a couple of the messages. Great. They're lovely and bright. Okay. That one says Sober AF.
This is one of my new ones. We're playing around with different colours. So we've got an orange.
So you've got a nice star and it says Sober AF.
There's a star theme going on because
very nice.
I like to call people sober stars. So we've got the theme going on.
That's a happy Soberversary. Yeah. I mean,
this is one of my
originals. And what does that one say?
That's just one of the originals. Congratulations on your Soberversary. Lovely. So that hasn't got a star on it in case people don't like stars. And there's a little pink one there as well.
Great.
So we're trying to reach out because obviously the thing that we've struggled with is that you need to find the people who need the car, who need to buy the car.
Exactly.
And our groups, this kind of thing is aimed at sober people, and sober people don't want to buy themselves their cards, although they have done. So it's reaching out to that wider audience.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
Quite tough.
Yeah, it's such a good point. I mean, I really hope we can spread that message because I remember when I think I got to 3 months, and of course 3 months is a really big thing, isn't it? Well, it was for me. It felt huge. 3 months really felt huge. It also coincided with my birthday, or very close to my birthday. And I remember feeling really fed up, just absolutely fed up that nobody could get this. And I think I even sent my husband an email with just a subtle little link to something. but he didn't get it. Typical. He actually didn't get it. The email actually went into the ether. And I thought that's just goddamn typical, that is. And so I literally got nothing. And I really envied. That's a little bit of AA that I envy, that little token thing, because to mark this is really important. And that's why your cards are brilliant. So the more we can spread this message. And then tell us about the other little bits and pieces you've got, because you've got these great little drinks tags. Tell us about those.
So I went to a friend's house, and she's a fantastic host, my friend Elisa. And she, when I walked in with my bottle of sparkling water, everybody was drinking gin and tonics, and she dressed my drink up so it looked special. The problem is that when my drink went down on the side, it looked the same as everybody else's gin and tonic. And I don't want a mistake. I want to drink my drink. And it just gave me the idea of having something that you could put on your glass that identifies your glass as being yours. and so prevents any mistakes. So another friend that I used to work with, she makes wooden decoration things, and I just said, "Oh, can you make anything?" And one of her designers came up with the idea. So it's a small little Soberfish. I have got one somewhere. A small little Soberfish, and it goes on the side of the glass, and it just identifies your drink as being yours. Idea.
And where did you come up with the name Soberfish?
So my nickname was Fish. Not because I drank like one. It was because of Fishwife, because I've got a big mouth. And so everybody's always called me Fish. And when my blog started, it was called Sober for 2017, because that was the aim. And then after 6 months, I decided that I wouldn't be drinking again. So the name Sober for 2017 kind of, it just became obsolete. So I changed it to the Soberfish story. And and it's just gone from strength to strength, really, because then I got my logo, and then doing the cards and the blog, and then I wrote a short story which was in a book, and so it's been an amazing journey. It's been fantastic.
So what was some of I know we could probably talk for hours on this, but just give us a few, maybe your, I don't know, top 5 benefits of that you've really that have really made a difference for you since you've stopped drinking.
I mean, getting time back, my weekends are just, I don't have any time. And how I had time to sit around drinking and then time to throw up all day, I don't know, because I've got so much time back, and I literally feel every second of it. So that's amazing. Obviously, my lifestyle, the fact that I did lose my weight that I wanted to lose, the fact I don't smoke anymore, the fact I don't drink anymore. And that all kind of led on to number 3, which is the self-love part of it. I mean, I had a very, very low opinion of myself. My self-esteem was rock bottom. I was making stupid decisions because I didn't care about myself, and now it's completely opposite. I'm up there. I like myself. I like what I've become. I like what I'm doing, and nobody's ever going to do that to me again. What else? I mean, it's completely transformed everything in my life. So there's just no way that I would go back to that lifestyle again.
Yeah. And what about the downsides then? I mean, I don't mean the downsides of being sober, but I'd always quite like to kind of remind people that while it's marvelous, it can be tough at the beginning. So what were the hard bits for you? And would you have any tips for anyone who's kind of going through those early stages?
For me, it was definitely the social side of things. I struggled, and I still struggle on the social side, because I was a massive party animal. So I went from being a massive party animal into somebody that wasn't doing very much. The FOMO, I know, fear of missing out, or the JOMO, they call it joy of missing out. Funnily enough, I was talking to somebody earlier, and I remember one bank holiday, and just Sunday night used to be our night, and I chose to stay in. Everybody was going out. I chose to stay in to avoid it all. And I was just thinking, is this it? That was 6 months in, and I'm thinking, is that it? What do you do now on a bank holiday? Well, this bank holiday, I've just been rushed off my feet. So it's just, in the beginning, it's hard because you're trying to change a lifelong habit, which is going out, going to the pub, going to barbecues, drink. So it will be hard to change that in the beginning. But now I look at it, 6 months of uncomfortableness for the life that I have now was well worth the trade.
Yeah. So it's really thinking it's really the outcome you want, isn't it? Moving towards it.
I say it's about not having instant gratification for a lifetime of happiness. So you've got to learn to say no to things that are put in front of you if you want the long-term goal of happiness. And the last 2 years have been amazing. And if that trade-off for 6 months at the beginning of feeling a little bit jealous of what everybody else was doing, then it's been well worth it.
And you mentioned,
but it does take time.
It does. And you mentioned that you lost lots of weight. I mean, that doesn't happen for everyone, of course. I mean, namely me. I mean, did you find that you had, sugar cravings or did you manage to avoid that? Were you sort of super good girl and losing weight straight away? Or I mean, how come you were able to lose the weight? Or did that take a long time as well?
Well, I'm still going, and I will keep going. So in the first 6 weeks, I say this story a lot. So anybody that's listened to my my podcast and things before, I was addicted to Lindor balls. The Americans don't know what they are, and they always Google, and they come
they're
out
like
as
chocolate balls, are they?
Yeah,
chocolate things.
God, they're amazing. Yeah, and I can't eat them now because I still have the same. Once I have one, I have to eat the whole box. So I was eating like boxes of them at the beginning, but I knew I was going to Slimming World. Again, the Americans don't know Slimming World is another form of like Weight Watchers. I started there in the January, so I'd been sober for 6 weeks, and if I'm honest, I did okay because you're allowed to eat a lot of fruit. So I still eat a punnet of grapes a day still. I did get addicted to Magnums. I got addicted to Curly Whirlies, chocolate mousse. So I go through stages of eating these things to excess, which is, I know it's not great, but I'm not drinking. So I don't smoke. So that's fine by me. But the biggest thing is that I started walking. And so I walk an average of 6 miles a day.
Oh, wow.
And and I swear that because I do that, I pretty much eat what I like now. So I still. So
when you say you walk, do you kind of walk somewhere, or do you go for a walk? As it were? Do you make it part of your routine, like you walk to work, or you walk to? You do. I
mix it up. Walking to work is. I literally work down the road. I just need to move this table. Hold on, just one sec. There's sun coming in somewhere. It's just blinding me. Oh, that's it. So I started off by doing 10,000 steps a day for 1 month. And that was, I've been sober for 6 months. And then the next month I did something, it's called Race at Your Pace, which is where you set yourself a target of how many miles. And so I set myself a target of 200 miles for that month. And then I did that for 3 months. And once I'd done that, the habit was formed.
And I find this really interesting because I'm someone who's never been able to run. I can't run, but I love walking. But I do find, and everyone says to me, "Oh, you should try couch to 5K." I tried it once. Honestly, it was just the biggest laugh. I set off down the canal, so pleased with myself. I fell over on about step number 5. Came back all kind of bruised and bleeding, and the kids are at the door. And, well, that went well. And that was practically my one and only attempt at running. Oh no! But maybe I could do that. You see, you're inspiring me. I could do that. Well, I can walk fast.
Well, that's what I do. So if you've got an iPhone, it's got a health app on it, so it monitors. That's all I use. I used to have a Fitbit, but it died and never replaced it. And I just put it on and walk for 5 miles. But what I've started doing is walking to the supermarket, putting my shopping in a rucksack, because then you're carrying weight as well. So that's really helping. I mean, I live near the beach. I know you said in your podcast the other day.
Lucky.
I heard you say that you wanted to go by the sea. So
jealous.
If I walk from here to the beach and back, that's 6 miles.
Oh, wow.
So I know that I can do that. If I walk from here to Bournemouth, it's 10 miles.
Brilliant.
So I just beforehand set myself a little challenge. And if I want to eat something, like if I know I want to eat something bad, I'll be like, well, you have to walk to Bournemouth and back. So it's the battle in your head, isn't it? You're just constantly arguing with yourself. Well, if you want that, then you have to do that. So I just do that, bargain with myself.
Yeah. Great. So just back on your cards then, and the stuff you're doing with these positive messages. I mean, have you seen a change over the couple of years that you've been in this scene, because there is obviously on the good side, there are more people who are coming on board now. There's a lot more with mindful drinking. There's a lot more brands doing alcohol-free drinks. So there's more going on. There's some dry bars. I think you hosted a lunch, didn't you, at a bar with alcohol-free drinks and stuff. So we know that there's more going on in the UK. That's for definite. But do you see anything changing in terms of these messages in the media? Or
I think it's slow. I sometimes feel like it's like banging your head against a brick wall. But then if you said to me 5 years ago, you're going to be making sober products, you're not going to be drinking alcohol, your tipple's going to be sparkling water, I would never have believed you. And neither would anybody that knew me. So if I can change, other people can change. But I think the the point with drinking alcohol is that you have to be ready in yourself. It's not, I can't say to someone, you know, I can put my message out there and people can take from what they want, but it's a slow process to go, I have had enough. Yeah. And I mean, with regards to products and things like that, I mean, the festivals to me have been a massive marker of how things have changed. So I went
things
to
like the mindful drinking festivals or regular festivals, right?
Yeah, no, the mindful. No, I would never go to a regular one anymore. But the first mindful drinking festival was great, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and it was busy, but it was nowhere near as big as the one that I saw you at in January. You know, I'd say that one was probably 4 times as big. I could not believe the amount of people in January. It was incredible all day long. Not at one point did I look round and think, oh, there's not many people in here. It was rammed. And I think, to me, that was the marker that actually in 2 years things have changed a hell of a lot. You know, people are more interested in the drinks, the alcohol-free drinks. It's not just because you're pregnant that you're drinking an alcohol-free beer. It's because it's a choice, and because people are starting to understand that alcohol is a dangerous drug, and that it is, you know, by me putting myself out there and other people putting themselves out there and seeing how people change within 2 years, it is making people think, hang on a minute, is that me?
Yeah, absolutely. I think lots of people have seen that great picture that you put on Instagram and Facebook, and on the one side you look like you kind of to put it bluntly, you look a little bit like a pantomime dame, don't you? Bless you. The makeup is not quite intact.
No.
And it's very brave of you to put that out there. And then on the other side you're all glowing and gorgeous and slim, and it's like, what?
If I'd known that was going to be my last photo, and that was going to, because people say to me, why do you use that? And it's like, because that was the last photo.
Yeah. But the
about
transformation,
an hour before I had the last drink.
But it's amazing, isn't it? Because at the time you probably thought that was all right. I mean, I wouldn't dare put a picture of me out there of what, I mean, I just wouldn't even dare. And the terrifying thing is, okay, I wouldn't put the picture out, but it's not like it didn't happen. You know, it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the awful thing. You know, it's all there in your memory. But anyway, no regrets.
Well, the first time I put the photo out there, I remember thinking, like, you sit there going, what am I doing? Am I doing the right thing? But it created such a positive message.
Yeah. Well, it inspires
you can't not.
Well, as you say, that's how you came into this, because you looked at some images and thought, wow, I want a bit of that. I remember actually, interestingly enough, I do remember years and years ago, a long time before I gave up, or maybe when I was thinking about giving up, but then it seemed impossible, seeing one of these articles in a newspaper where a woman had given up drinking for, I think it was a month or 6 weeks or something, and they tested her skin, you know, and the kind of firmness of her skin and the lines on her face and all of this. And I remember looking at that and thinking, wow, that's an amazing way that's an anti-ager, you know. And while everyone's looking at their creams and their potions and their non-surgical facelifts, actually just bloody give up booze, you know.
I know.
It really helps. It helps massively,
it really
doesn't it?
Well, that's the other thing as well, is I've suffered from eczema since I was about 5. And I always say, I've been to the doctor, I've been on steroid creams for, you know, all of that time. And not once did anybody say to me, so what are your drinking habits like? You know, I was obviously overweight. What are you eating?
Yeah.
You know, it's what you put in.
Exactly.
You know, obviously, you know, comes on the outside. And no one ever asked that question. No. And now my eczema is practically non-existent.
That's amazing.
We all know what was causing it.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just don't really understand at what point the medical professionals are going to start putting 2 and 2 together. And, you know, that's where you're going to save money on the NHS, is by not handing out all of these prescriptions for you know, things like eczema, which is aggravated by alcohol. I mean, when I used to drink, I used to be literally scratching myself silly.
Of course.
But then you just carry on. Yeah.
Gosh. Well, it's fantastic to talk to you. And maybe, you know, if we have a conversation in a year's time, I mean, the cards will be everywhere, we hope.
Yeah.
Be nice,
well,
wouldn't it be nice to be able to actually go into a card shop and you know, a regular card shop, and there's your fabulous Soberversary cards. That's what we need.
That would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Here's hoping. So just tell people where they can find you then, Dawn, and buy the cards from.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, you can buy the cards on Etsy or Amazon if you look for Soberfish cards. You can find me on Facebook as the Soberfish Story, or on Instagram or Twitter, I'm Soberfishy.
Excellent. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks ever so much. Cheers.
So grab yourself those cards, and thank you again, Dawn, for being a great guest. A reminder of our event on Monday the 17th. It's coming up very soon. By the time some of you hear this, it will have gone. And our guests are Neil from Morning Gloryville and Joe DeRosa from Quantum Sobriety. And if you come early, 6 o'clock, we've got some free taster treatments. We've got some sound healing and someone doing one-to-one yoga. Everything is free. You do have to book tickets though via Eventbrite. It's all hosted by the charity My Yard, and you just type in self-care for the sober curious. It'd be so great to see you there. Make the effort if you can, and if you're coming on your own, I think I might have said last week, just drop us a message and make sure you're welcomed. And it is a very friendly kind of vibe. And by the way, we're thinking about our July event, because if you remember, I started this podcast in the end of January. And at the same time, I was working with the charity, and we decided on this Stay Dry Till July campaign, just encouraging people to, if they had done dry January, to just do that challenge, to keep going till July, because by then you're going to feel great. And of course, that's coming to an end. We're coming to July. So we thought we'd celebrate and have a bit of a kind of party vibe at the next Self-Care for the Sober Curious. So it'd be, if you are able to come, or if you can recommend somebody else in London who might want to come along, we'd be delighted to know what you would like us to do. We thought we could maybe put on a dance class, or a yoga class, or a gong bath, or something fun. We could have some live music. So any ideas, very welcome. And then really exciting news is I'm doing this great event on Wednesday, the 26th of June. Well, I hope it's going to be good. The venue is just awesome, and the most gorgeous venue in London I think I've ever seen, actually, for a function, for a talk or whatever. It's the Arboretum, and it's this kind of beautiful building, and there's this amazing living wall, living flower wall. It's absolutely gorgeous. So it's Wonderment Wednesdays, and that's 26th of June, and I'm hosting the whole event. It's called Sober Curious, Sobriety Rocks, who knew? And I'm going to do the first bit of the evening. It's going to be Q&A, and I'm going to share various bits and bobs. And then in the second half of the evening, I'm bringing on Millie from Sober Girl Society and Scott from The Boy Who Drank Too Much. And they're going to provide that kind of younger element and talk about being social, sober and social, really, and sober dating, and how you navigate friendships and all of that stuff. So I'm hoping it's going to be a great night. That one does have a ticket price. So check that out on Eventbrite if you type Wonderment Wednesdays, or you can find it in the show notes of the podcast. So really hope I get to see some of you at one of those events, or if not, the one in July. And look forward to any feedback you want to give me at Janey Lee Grace, and the email is janey@janeyleegrace.com. And I look forward to seeing you same time next week. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast with Janey Lee Grace. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, rate us, share on social media, and tune in again.